All right, it is episode 60 of the Zenspath 4-Button Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, and joining me all the way up north, Joey.
Hello.
How you doing?
All good. Just a little sleepy. Not too sleepy, but just a little bit.
Well, it's as long as you don't fall asleep, we'll be all right.
I can't make promises, but if I do, it'll be cute.
Aw, the adorable sleeping.
Mhm.
All right, and joining me a little bit more locally, Caleb.
Hello, it is I.
Hello. How you guys doing tonight?
I could go for a nap, but I'm all right nonetheless.
All tired.
Sleepy time trio. That's what it is.
After I get the show edited tonight and put up there, I'm probably going to sleep. So
you know you're gonna play Elden Ring like everyone else.
Called out.
Yeah, he's not wrong. Speaking of what we've been playing, though, Joey, we'll start off with you since you are our guest once again. It's becoming very consistent. It's funny. What have you been playing? What you been up to?
Well, first off, thank you again for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Always.
And Caleb, even though I've only talked to Caleb on here once, but it's a very much a pleasure to talk to Caleb too.
Oh, thank you.
Just so much positivity. But what have I been playing? Let's see. I just played through Horizon Forbidden West. My girlfriend and I no-lifed that. Got the platinum and all the quests and all the stuff done.
Wow. Impressive.
It took like 2 days. It was a lot.
Dang. I've been thinking about getting that one.
It's good. It's good. It's got a lot of problems. It's very AAA, mostly for worse, but some for better. It has the most beautiful motion capture I've ever seen in a video game, though. I have to say that's like new grounds for me.
Yeah, that has been greatly improving over the years. It's been fun to kind of watch that progress.
Right. It's incredible, man. Like for all the shit I can talk, all the spoopy I can talk about the story. I think there's a lot of subtle nuance that's carried through the small gesticulations and movements of the motion capture that feels a lot like it's staged and scened like like a film in a lot of ways. And it picks up dialogue in that really well, just through body language. Like now body language is like more of a thing. And it's really interesting to see that. It's a gorgeous game, but it's just clunky as hell. So it's got that going for it.
I still want it. I like the first one. I haven't beat it yet, but I want to play it. I'm so behind on everything. I don't know when I got into this habit of just not finishing games. I don't know.
Welcome to adulthood.
Bad. I know.
I've been through that phase. I've had to make concerted efforts to put that phase behind me, and I force myself. If I don't stick with one thing, it's never getting done.
I think I'm actually starting to do that exact thing where I'm like, okay, no, I have to beat this. I'm trying to remember specifically. Oh, it was Pokemon. I was like, I have to beat this. I have to make it through. Oh my gosh.
Well, Joey, I know another thing you actually finished up playing a game today, didn't you? Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Oh yeah. I guess there's that too. I finished the Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster. I did one 18-hour stream and then one like 6-hour stream, and then
oh my god, I didn't realize it was that long.
You know what? It's really not. I'm a stupid idiot who was like, I'm going to grind out the Paladin Shield. Yeah, that's 256 battles. Okay, let's do that. Hey guys, what's going on? So that was a mistake. I easily could have beaten it without it. Even if I kept dying in the final couple bosses, I still would have been able to. But either way, I wanted the experience. I wanted the full FF6 experience, and that's part of it. But that wraps up my Pixel Remaster playthroughs. So not to plug, but that is available on the YouTubes and on the YouTubes. So just there.
I was kind of hinting at you to plug, so please tell us where we can find those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, plug away.
If you go to onlyfans.com/ff6 guy. No, it's on YouTube. If youtube.com/jumpandshoot, or just Google it, it'll come up. Jump and Shoot podcast YouTube or something. All the Pixel remasters on there. I'll be playing through the whole mainline Final Fantasy games, so we'll do 7 sometime in the next couple weeks. I think I can knock that out in one sitting. I can do it.
Wow.
And
Wow.
what
You mean
else?
changing the disc?
Oh no, I wouldn't. I would play the ports because they have speed up options and stuff that would make that a lot better.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I mean, like with no, not on default hardware or original hardware. There's no way.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, I could definitely do the ports with some speed up shenanigans definitely in like 18 or 20 hours. So we'll see what happens. But that should be coming up soon. And then what else do I have planned? I think I'm gonna do 11 as well. We'll see how that goes.
Okay. Wait, 11? The online one?
Yeah, it has a story.
Oh, okay. That's right. It did. Yeah. I haven't played that in forever. All right. Caleb, what you been playing? What you been up
Well,
to?
honestly, the only thing of significance that I've been playing recently is the Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duels that came out. Me and a couple of friends have been getting into that because it's actually pretty fun, and there's some really broken decks you can make because it literally has every card ever made in it.
Oh
So
Oh,
wow.
Lord.
it is quite ridiculous. It's like it's literally like you boot up multiplayer, you go against this one guy, and he wins the duel in one turn because why not?
Oh, I've heard
You're
about this. I've seen videos of this. I don't
Mhm.
even know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh. I've just seen that.
it it's pretty fun. I have a Blue Eyes deck because of course I do. I've always wanted a Blue Eyes deck, and then I have actually a Galaxy Eyes. It's a different kind of space dragons, and I'm like, yes,
Ooh.
I love space dragons. They're fun. They're giant. There's like one card with a little baby Galaxy Eyes dragon popping out of a galaxy. I'm like, these are huge. It's amazing. It's only 350 attack, but it's huge. But
Lord.
but it is a good time. Much to much 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 sadness to my sleep schedule since getting
Yeah, that'll do that.
yeah.
All right. Well, I'll jump into mine, and part of mine actually leads into our first story. So I'll go through the first game. Second one, we'll just go right into the news. But I finally finished Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Me too.
I went through, finished the story mode. I'm still playing it because I'm actually really enjoying going through.
There's a lot of post game stuff.
Yeah, post
Yeah,
game stuff.
but I was like, I just wanted to say, like, at least I finished it. Like, I got through the story, got the ending, got my Pokemon, and I can move on from there, which is nice.
Proud of you,
Um,
Dad.
that is probably not the most difficult game to finish, to be honest with you.
I'm still proud of you, Dad. Don't downplay your achievements.
Um, what I will be playing, because this is kind of like a love-hate relationship that I have tried. I have played Demon Souls back when it was an import on my PS3 from Japan. I played Demon Souls when it came to America. I played Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3 on 360. I played the Dark Souls remake on Switch, the Dark Souls HD remakes for Xbox. I kept buying these and trying them. I played Bloodborne, tried messing with that. I got Demon Souls for the PS5. I keep trying these. I'll play them for a couple of hours and then I always get frustrated and stop, but I keep wanting one to click because I get so tired of hearing everybody like, oh, this is great.
This is the most amazing game ever. I love
Right.
throwing my head at a wall for 10 hours and then finally beating a boss. It's great.
Yeah. So, well, I talked about this before, that I think part of it's the ADHD stuff where it becomes frustrating and it just drops and I lose interest in it. So to test that, I put my money where my mouth is and I bought Elden Ring.
Wow.
Chill.
The most masterpiece game ever made.
Well, I'm hoping I'll actually stick with this one more because I literally now could be like, if I'm getting frustrated, I could just walk somewhere else.
Yes,
That is my
I think
hope.
that is design for that.
So
That's what a lot of people have been saying. It's like, look, if you keep dying in an area, just don't go back to it till later.
And that's great. That's, I'm hoping that'll be a key to play this more. But the reviews that this thing's gotten and everything, I'm like, all right, it's worth at least giving it a shot. So we'll see if I wasted my money or not.
I hate to be this guy. You can do that in the other Souls games though. Like there's very few times in a Souls game where it like locks you. Even Sekiro,
Uh-huh.
there's very few times where it locks you into like one specific thing that you have to do, or like sometimes you know you'll start going through an area and then you get to a boss that's like super hard, so you're like, oh, I'll just try the other one. Um, so it's
Gotcha.
always been a thing, but I'm glad it's more like centric to the game design because I think that's really interesting.
I mean, I got it, so I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah,
I
I
loaded it
might
up.
Believe.
Yeah.
I might get it, but probably not till later. I don't think I'm going to get it right off the bat. I think I'm going to wait.
I'm
Or
also
just
tempted
wait till
to.
Christmas.
Yeah, I'm also tempted to try streaming this one somewhat because I know that'll
Do
bring out
it.
people that will give me so much crap. You're like, oh, you should play it this way, which I hate the backseat gaming thing. But
Jeremy, you're
it could
not
also be
playing
hilarious. Yeah, I get that sometimes.
right. Get good, scrub. What are
But
you
it
doing?
but it
Don't you
could
know
actually be funny, you know.
you must have the staff of Lanafell before you can go through the gates of Alderaan? How dare you not know that? I don't know. I'm just making stuff up.
You just brought Star Wars into that. All right.
Yeah, I
I
was like,
don't know.
Alderan's gone, bro. R.I.P.
Yeah,
Damn.
that's they're all out. Um and the other thing I've been working on is I modded my Wii U. I got a hold of a secondary system and modded that, so now it has a 2 terabyte hard drive attached to it, where I've been digitizing my entire physical library and trying to preserve some of the online games to enjoy in the store display that I have. And we'll go ahead and take this into the news. The reason I did this is because Nintendo has announced they're shutting down the eShop for the Wii U and 3DS in
Shame.
multiple stages all the way up until March 2023. So, yeah, this is not good. They're just kind of killing
Yeah.
it. Anybody else anybody else play Wii U, or is it just me?
Yeah, mine's sitting
Well,
right here.
Oh, good man. Good man.
I
Love my Wii U.
plan to play it again to maybe go back to some of the older games I haven't beaten. Specifically, Chronicles X. I will go back and boot it up this year. But
I guess I should mention I was playing that. I was streaming it actually. Forgot
yes,
about
I
that.
I
caught
was
a
there
little
for
bit
it.
of that. A little bit.
Oh, it was hilarious. I got to the point I was like, I tried to just jump back into my previous save and remember how to play and where I
saw.
was.
I
After
saw
about
that.
20 minutes, I went, nah, I'm starting over. I just wiped it and started over.
I said, "How could you?" I could never. I have how many hours on that game right now? I'm like, I wouldn't.
I
Oh,
couldn't
dude,
remember how to
I did
play it.
everything in that game. It took like 120 hours or something.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
Every side quest. All I did was like for like a month was be depressed after work and play Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Oh, wow.
real quick, legit question.
Okay.
There's this one side quest that pops up at level 30, but you cannot beat the freaking quest monster that spawns till you have a level 50 skill. And it made me so mad and angry. And I was like, what is the point? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So you can break the hell out of Xenoblade, any Xenoblade game, and
Right.
with one simple thing, and it's making one character an evade tank, and then everything becomes a joke because it just one person tanks the mob or boss, and then just dodges 80% of stuff, and then that's it. That's all you need. That's all
I
you
might
need,
have
baby.
to look up how to do that because no, it was just this one guy and he would literally one shot skills. And I'm like, seriously? Why? What is this? Well, why is this a level 30 quest? I don't understand.
Scared to troll you. Yeah. Well, the game also expects you to upgrade your Skell. Was it Skell or Skell? Right.
No, it's a skill. Yeah.
It's Kel, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It expects you to sort of upgrade them, and it doesn't really do a fantastic job of like pushing you in the right direction.
I mean,
But
I put numbers on it. I was like, I'll see numbers going up. I'm good. I'm seeing numbers going up. I want to shove it in there.
Anyways.
I didn't. Oh,
Oh,
boy.
go ahead.
No, I realized what had been said. I didn't take it that way. Oops.
Oh, no, you're fine. All right. So to continue with back to the news, let's just rope it on back in.
Sorry.
This is rolling back in. All right.
This has been haunting me for years.
Well, this
That's
is what we
okay.
call news with side quests.
you.
So games and demos, other free content and stuff like that will be no longer available for download after March 2023. As of May 23rd of this year, you can no longer add funds via credit card. As of August 29th of this year, you can no longer add anything, even via Nintendo eShop cards. After the shutdown and quote, and for the foreseeable future, according to Nintendo, you can re-download games and DLC, get software updates, and play games online for Wii U and 3DS. So the online functionality will still be there.
Huh.
You just
For how
can't
long?
get new games. I don't know, and apparently I found out you can still re-download your Wii titles if you had them. So I mean, they've kept that going for the past couple of years, so that's something, but I don't know. The worst part of it, though, Nintendo released an FAQ along with this announcement, and it had some kind of a mess here. They stated, quote, "This is part of the natural life cycle for any product line as it becomes less used by consumers over time." Okay, I get that. I can see that for the Wii U, but the 3DS, I think, still has a pretty good player base going on.
Yeah.
People. I mean, especially, it may be kind of a secondary market, but I guess they can do that because of the Switch. This also means the end of the final way for users to actually own and play virtual console titles, as Wii U and 3DS were the only systems, the last ones, to offer this. A section of the FAQ covered this, but was quickly removed by Nintendo.
Of course.
Yeah, here's the question. This is a little bit long on the question and response, but it's just kind of messed up. So the question was, quote, "Once it is no longer possible to purchase software in Nintendo eShop on Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS family of systems, many classic games for past platforms will cease to be available for purchase anywhere. Will you make classic games available to own some other way? If not, then why? Doesn't Nintendo have an obligation to preserve its classic games by continually making them available for purchase?" That's the question. And yeah, they really dug a hole with this one.
The answer is yes. They shouldn't have responded any other way.
Right? Well, they did. They did respond some other way. Here's their response. Quote, "Across our Nintendo Switch Online memberships plan, over 130 classic games are currently available in growing libraries for various legacy systems. The games are often enhanced with new features such as online play. We think this is an effective way to make classic content easily available to a broad range of players. Within these libraries, new and longtime players can not only find games they remember or have heard about, but other fun games they might not have thought to seek out otherwise. We currently have no plans to offer classic content in other ways."
I don't think anything is more condescending and just unbelievably terrible. When the PR person wrote that, they had to stick up their ass about something. Like there was something that they were trying to prove.
Nintendo, this is why you don't FAQ drunk.
Yeah. So I've been asked this question 100 times a day, and I'm tired of it. Yeah, go away.
Yeah, Nintendo guys, you need to learn. You do not FAQ drunk. Stop it. So I get that the Nintendo Switch Online does offer a lot of games, but it's just a fraction of what was originally available.
Yeah.
Which, there was a lot of stuff there. You had the Wii U had over 300 virtual console games available, and the 3DS had 191, and those were very different. Like there was some crossover with Super Nintendo and NES, but the Wii U had stuff from like TurboGrafx and
DS.
some arcade games, DS, 3D, yeah.
I noticed not a lot of GameCube love going around. Makes me a little sad.
Yeah, I still don't know why they haven't done even GameCube now. But the 3DS had, most importantly, Game Boy and Game Boy Color titles.
Mm-hmm.
Because those were probably one of the best ways to play it. And right now it's the only way to play the original Pokemon games and be able to carry those Pokemon over to the newer titles.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be a hard reset for that as well.
I say, which, by the way, you got to transfer all those Pokemon through the Pokemon Bank into Pokemon Home before March hits. I got to do that.
Apparently, I think Bank is going free, and it's going to have some functionality afterwards still. But
oh, really?
Yeah, because it counts as like an online service. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still so vague. We don't have concrete if that's the case. Like they're very, like I said, condescending about this. They're just like, we're going to shut it down. Go buy our Switch. You're going to.
Well, the worst part is that the way that reads to your consumers is that these games are more important than those games, and having less options in our service is better than the old service. But that's bullshit because you don't have nearly as many options as we just said. The
Oh yeah.
model is completely different. If it was the same exact model, it'd be one argument. But
Mhm.
because Nintendo Switch Online is not digital purchases that you own, you're literally basically just paying a subscription every month or year to unlock the key to use it. It's a completely different game. And I think like the fact that that doesn't even get acknowledged is really gross. You know, like
Yeah.
and normally I would think that like in their better judgment, they would have some sort of plan worked out to where they would offer this feature to switch people. If they were like, hey, we're gonna take the Wii U stuff and we're gonna bring it over to Switch and the same games and stuff, or like most of the same games will be
Right.
available. We'll offer like cross, you know, if you bought it on Wii U, link your account, hook it up, whatever. Okay, at least you're offering a compromise. There's no compromise there at all. That's just like them giving you the middle finger and everybody else being like, "Oh, my best friend Nintendo. Oh, there's it's okay. No one's playing these games anyway."
Oh
Like
yeah, I keep hearing that. Like,
that's
oh, you
so
guys,
stupid.
oh, all these people caring about the Wii U now. I'm like, oh no, no, no. I have cared about this console since the day it came out. I have a history with it. Like, this is not some all of a sudden fake concern. And like, I went on a recent trip earlier this year, and I was playing Super Mario RPG because that was available on the Switch. But I was on this trip for a week with no internet access whatsoever. And in the middle of that time, I guess I'd forgot to log into it. It wanted me to verify, and I couldn't play the game anymore.
Yeah, that happened to me too. Yep.
And
Mhm.
I'm like, you have to keep, it's not just like when was the last time you were online. You have to actively go into each of the apps individually for them to check in to
Mhm.
restart that clock. And I'm like, come on, guys, this is ridiculous.
Yep.
Like,
No,
people,
it's stupid.
yeah,
They're asking people to pirate at this point. Like
I
at
know.
this point,
I
like
did.
there's it's unforgivable. Like there's I mean, I get
Yo
it. Like
ho yo.
you can't really maintain digital storefronts in perpetuity, you know. But like at the same time, you could offer solutions that aren't
Right.
just buyer worse service. You know, it's and people eat this up, man. They're just like digging into that big bowl of poo from Nintendo that has Nintendo's logo on it and just covering their face in it. And it's like kind of gross because I see this discourse and people are perpetuating this discourse that like, oh, no one's going to use it anyway. Like no one's playing this, dude. It doesn't matter about like whether or not I can play Barbie's Big Adventure on the Switch because I'm not going to play it. But the fact that it exists, the fact that you can play it is like the bare minimum that you can give. There's
Mhm.
no way that Nintendo is like losing so much money off this that like the push pull factors are pulling them away from it, right? Like it's
Yeah.
absurd. It's absurd.
Like, I understand games going away for licensing issues. That happens. I
Right.
completely get that. That's outside of their control.
Mhm.
But Xbox Live, for the 360 started in 2005. Those games are most like some of a good bit of those are still available to buy right now
Yep.
on a 360 or even brought over to an Xbox One or a Series X or S or whatever and can still be played. They're maintaining those stores within the licenses they can do. And like Nintendo, it shouldn't be that big of a thing, especially because this is the only way to actually purchase and have those legitimately. So at this point, if you're like, I modded an original Wii when they closed that shop and found a repository that had all of the WiiWare titles on it. So I got those, loaded them onto a drive, modded the software on the Wii, and they're all available because otherwise there would be no way to play those.
Yep.
And some of the arguments people had with me online saying like, oh, it doesn't matter if you're preserving this, that, you weren't playing it right anyways. Great. You can tell what present tense is, but that does not, the people in the future tense that have not had a chance to play those games yet deserve a chance to try those games and play them if they want. How many people, especially of like my age, grew up on media that was well before their time because people preserved it and were replaying it and made it available. you know, that's a fact of life that's kind of going away with this digital world now.
Yeah. I think what you that's a perfect way to describe, because and even if nobody is playing Barbie's Big Adventure 733, it's still just to not have it available because you deemed it was not worthy is kind of stupid, and it sets a precedent that sucks. So
Yeah.
this to Nintendo 100%.
For those listening, he gave the double deuce with
Yeah, that's
respect.
yeah.
But I agree. Like Nintendo, okay, people are gonna be like, "Oh, you're a hypocrite." No, I do love Nintendo stuff. I grew up playing
Same, man.
Nintendo. I have literally probably like 1,000 games from them that I play and other stuff. But that does not mean I cannot enjoy their stuff and criticize them. People seem so set that if you like them, you can't criticize them, and I think that's bullcrap.
No, it is. It's like, I mean, you could like something, like, who better to criticize something than the person that likes Star Wars, like, just for an example, like, I mean, Star Wars fans, have a wide range, and they either like something or hate something, but they're not a bad example in this case. Like, they are free to criticize because they love Star Wars, right?
Yeah, and I'm
Or
not
Star
saying
Trek. Like, it's the same with any kind of like
Mhm.
fan base or anything. And I also, I'm thinking, like, I love the games. I like the dev teams. I like the games they put out. Don't necessarily like the business practices or the models that they choose and make up. But
one of the biggest things against preservation that Nintendo has kind of been pushing for is they're one of the ones that fight against like some of this content being made available like at libraries and stuff like that to preserve it and make it available for the public. And those means they're not making money off this anymore. They're taking them away. And they're the ones preventing being able to do that for a lot of those spots too, because people can go to libraries and you can check out games, you can check out movies, CDs, like all this other stuff is available at public libraries. Other games and digital content be something they could add to that to preserve or at least keep a record of it. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to, make it available for everyone to play, but keep a record of it in some way. Library of Congress, things like
Mhm.
that. It's a preservation point. And I think Nintendo's being really dumb about that. Like, this is a very bad practice. And ironically, it does lead to more people modding and working with emulation and doing stuff because that's the only way they
Mhm.
can access this content.
Yeah, especially with the secondary market being what it is. Like a lot of people feel trapped in that, and I feel like part of that is intentional. So it funnels that market in that spending.
Right.
Even this is just limited spending for a lot of these people, but it funnels that spending into like contemporary games, Switch games. You know,
Right.
and that's gross. That's
But
so gross.
let me ask you this, Joey, because I know you're massive into RPGs as you
Mhm.
are part of Super RPG Friends. Uh,
Mhm.
another plug there. Um, like
Mhm.
if you had a kid that came up and asked you, it's like, "Hey, I've heard of this Chrono Trigger. What's the best way I could play it right now?" And the honest answer I would probably give would be to emulate it. Like the cartridge is ungodly expensive. The hardware's tough
Yeah.
to get. You may not be able to even find the DS copy of it. It's going away in the digital stores, so you can't get them on there for most places, I think.
Yeah. Well, no,
Uh,
they're still available. So that yeah, I see your point, but in that case, I would say just like for like a kid,
yeah.
do the mobile version if that's what you want to play.
Oh, okay. I
But
wouldn't know where there's a mobile version.
yeah, it's the same as the Steam. Pretty well, the Steam version is based off the mobile one, but yeah, I get your point
of
though. Like
course,
let's say like Lufia 2 or something that doesn't really have uh like modern accessibility without. Yeah, I would say emulate it, because like what else are you gonna do? Spend an ungodly amount of money to play a game that like you're not even sure if you're gonna like? Like it's different if Nintendo or whoever offered a solution to pay. Like I wouldn't mind paying money to get for preservation, right?
Yeah.
Like, and the fact that like no, again, I feel like that we always bring this up, but like it's like no company is making the steps because they're too damn scared to do it, and it will fall in line. All it takes, one company makes a huge push for this kind of thing, and a company with like a huge legacy like Nintendo or Sega or
Microsoft has actually been making roads and talking about that. They've been making a
right.
push and have publicly said emulation is the only way for preservation. Like, that was surprising to hear, and kind of glad that they're kind of pushing in that direction. Like, yeah, emulate these games, find other ways to do it. Don't just assume it has to be this.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Nintendo gets worse with age.
Yeah. So real quick, we're just going to cover this for a moment, but I wanted to laugh at people that fell prey to more NFT stuff, which is great. So
always love to see it.
You guys ever heard of NFTs? They said they're unstealable and they're guaranteed to be safe. Well, NFT users from OpenSea's kind of just hackers stole millions of dollars worth of these NFTs. Ended up spending them, returned some of them, gave them away. But it kind of goes against the whole they're unstealable. Because the biggest part is a lot of these, the OpenSea co-founder and CEO, Devin Finzer, said the site is fine and that, quote, as far as we can tell, end quote, those affected were victims of a phishing attack, according to the report on Kotaku.
I mean, but that doesn't stop them. I think I haven't read, but I saw something saying like OpenSea's probably going to get sued because of that or something.
They should be sued for all kinds of stuff because they have stolen so much artwork and music and other stuff from people to make money off of, that whole argument of, oh, NFTs let artists get paid. Yeah. No, they don't.
No. That's a lie. NFT lets the person who made the NFT get paid, but not the artists themselves.
Right. So
unless the artist specifically goes and makes an NFT, but most of people don't want to do that. So here we are.
So this is just at least me. I'm going to just publicly laugh at this company for completely getting hosed out of millions of dollars on an already existing scam. Yeah. All right. So next up, a man breaks into a mom and pop retro gaming store and steals $250,000 worth of Pokemon cards in cash. A lot. What's crazy? Yeah, they broke into a neighboring store and then cut through the wall between the shops to get into their storage room and start grabbing stuff.
That's so good.
I feel bad for the store because apparently they're pretty well.
I wish they stole Nintendo themselves, but yeah, same.
Yeah. But last I heard, they haven't caught the person yet. They had some pictures of him but they couldn't tell his face. But like, that's horrible. Hopefully they'll be okay. Cause like, I don't want a mom and pop store to go down. Like
same. That always sucks.
Well, we were talking about this before the show. Like you and I both like going to, when we can, these retro stores or, smaller gaming stores. Cause I always found they have more interesting, not so regulated games that are going to be in there. They might have weird little finds, different personalities and people of what they like and have, and it's just more adventurous to me for collecting. So yeah, it's just a weird story just to kind of cut through a wall and start stealing Pokemon cards. Like, how are you going to resell these? Like, are they just at home like putting these in pages going like, yes, I have you now. Like, you're mine.
Finally. Those are marked cards.
Yeah, this is taking Gotta Catch 'Em All to the completely wrong level.
Gotta steal them all. Do you think they wore a Team Rocket outfit when they did
I was just going to say, I think it's Team Rocket. That's what I think.
If they had actually worn something Team Rocket while they stole this, I'd be like, this is still bad, but I'm kind of laughing. Yeah. Oh, that's terrible.
Extra points for style, but doesn't give you a passing grade.
So, I don't know if you guys caught this at all, but Street Fighter 6 was surprisingly announced. No actual details given and a super wide Ryu.
Yeah, it was teased, and Ryu is like takes up like this much of the screen,
and his hog takes up like this much of the screen. So we got that going for us.
Yeah, people are so convinced. They're like, I think his junk is in there, and I'm like, I don't know. At this point, I don't even know.
He looks like he's on either way works.
Yeah,
it's hard to say.
He looks like he's on so many steroids you shouldn't be able to see anything. Like, it's just suck it back up in there.
In Street Fighter 6, we roided everyone up for the competition.
Yeah. So this was already
instead of super meter, it's your roid gauge.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Max it out. Stick yourself.
Street Fighter's becoming an Olympic sport, so everyone's on something now.
Oh my god.
Dope up to beat the competition into submission.
The arcade edition, when you put quarters in, it's just adding more testosterone shots.
Yeah.
You see
Your character
Ryu
just gets bigger.
Yeah, Ryu just getting bigger until like fight, and he's just like,
Terrible. So Street Fighter 6 was first revealed during the late 2020 ransomware attack on Capcom. I'm gonna try and keep this show going.
I'm thinking of it. You set a really good image in my mind. I'm just saying. That's all.
Yeah,
pretty good.
I've tried. So they gave us all the information of no systems, no release date, and anything else. We hopefully should find out later this year. I wish they would have at least said what systems it's coming to. Something. What they did show, they might have stolen.
Oh,
and that's their Street Fighter 6 logo, which is probably one of the most boring logo changes I've ever seen.
It looks
yeah, it's so let me paint a mental picture here. Ever since the original Street Fighter 2, Hyper Edition, Street Fighter 3, Alpha, all those, they've had really well designed like logos with fire and fighters and all this stuff. Like it was very much a signature style of Street Fighter. And this dropped all of it. Like just gone.
No, this does look like it was made in MS Paint, honestly.
Well, the problem is when the logo was revealed, it's very, very similar to an existing $80 logo on Adobe stock site. And so I included a picture in the notes. I don't know if you guys can see it, where it's overlaid. So the red is the Adobe logo with the blue underneath it being the Street Fighter. That's all they changed between these two logos is tilted the S just a bit, tilted down part of the F, and slapped a 6 on it.
Can I just say they really messed up by not making that S the cool S?
Yeah, this should have been the one every kid draws as a requirement in middle school.
Yeah, what fools. Absolute fools. Hogwash even.
Fools.
Now, they're probably going to save that for the alpha version of this where it's middle school Street Fighter. That would be more fitting for the SF.
That would be, yes. Yeah.
It's younger.
Don't worry, they'll come out with another version of Super Street Fighter 6 Deluxe Alpha Omega Gamma Edition. Yeah, did it.
Go through the whole Greek alphabet.
Pretty much.
By the time you're done with it, you can write out equations.
Yeah. The problem with Capcom has not made a good looking Street Fighter game since like Alpha, Street Fighter Alpha 3 or just Street Fighter 3. You know, like 4 is okay. 4 is probably my favorite, but it looks so
4.
bad.
I kind of liked the art style they did with 4 though. Like that's one of my favorites on that one. But I agree.
It was like kind of unique at the time, but 5 is so ugly to me. It's so ugly.
Yeah.
The only my only problem with 5 was the price. Just buy the game, and now you have to buy all the extra characters if you want them. Like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I wanted to play Street Fighter on anything other than my PlayStation, and they were like, "Well, that's all it's going to be on." I'm like, well, I guess I'm not playing this. I'm going to go back and keep playing 4 because all of those play beautifully on my Series X, so I'm good.
It's on PC.
It is. I have it on there as well. Well, 4. I'm not bothering with 5.
Oh, 4.
4. I just didn't want to fight with it. I was like, I just want to buy the game and play it. Come on, guys.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
So, yeah. So I'm curious if anything's going to come out of this with the logo, and I'm hoping they will back this off and change it. Like this looks like here's a temporary logo. You know, they might as well just call this like Project Street Fighter 6.
It's like it's
like the Street Traveler.
Street. I was gonna say it's like a movie Sonic. It's like, haha, here's our logo. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh,
we changed it. We had a bunch of crunch.
Everyone for the rest of our lives that was alive for that is going to mention that anytime they don't like something. We did it. I remember back in my day, Billy, 90 years ago, we made them change Sonic. We can do it again. You know. Criticism's
Sonic
okay,
movie
people, but
sucks.
don't be.
What?
I had to say it. I've been holding it in. It sucks. I can't stand it.
Wow.
The fact that like it's not even like funny bad. It's just bad.
Really?
Yeah, like I think that like okay, there's like things about it that are fine. Like I think Sonic's voice is great. Everything else about it just it sucks. I'm stoked for the second one though. It looks like it's fixing a lot of problems. But
Shocking admission, from Joey.
no, dude, I've been holding it in for 3 years. It's like a poop that won't come out.
Oh no.
I'm constipated
We were
with
the
this
laxative.
hatred.
The Zenspath podcast laxative.
I gave you too much coffee
The
before the
Zenspath
show.
Podcast. That's what it is.
Yeah, we gave you too much coffee before the show to keep you awake, and this is what we get.
Right
It's
now,
all coming out.
I thought it was a fun movie. I wouldn't call it a masterpiece, but I had a fun time watching it regardless.
You know what was fun?
Oh, go ahead.
What?
Detective Pikachu. That was
That
fun.
was
so
good.
fun.
I
Like
did really enjoy that.
Well,
So
lost me at
I'm
the
not a
Mewtwo part, but other than that, I enjoyed the.
Well, we have some common ground. We can keep you on the show for longer.
Yeah, thank
Yeah, okay.
Cancel me, daddy.
Like I said, it's we can have disagreements on stuff, but no one's being jerks about it, so we're good.
Yeah,
Actually,
no.
my
It's
family
okay.
actually really liked the Sonic movie. Like I knew it was kind of dumb, but I was like, it's enjoyable for what it is. It could.
You know what, man?
I've
Don't
seen
listen to
some
my
bad-
opinions. I like the Mario Brothers movie. I don't know what to tell you.
Actually,
You
me
know,
too. No lie. Like
It's a piece of doo doo poopy, but like
Yeah.
it's so entertainingly bad.
No,
Like, and
it's abstract art.
it really
Yeah.
is. It truly is.
Like this
Yeah.
is nothing. You just borrowed names from stuff, except for maybe the bomb. But other than that, this is not a
Yeah.
Mario movie. But I'm still along for the ride.
It's belligerent, and you have to kind of appreciate that. You have to bow to that absurdity.
I want to make a pair of those jumping boots. Like
They'd be
it's
sick.
not working.
You
but
could do it.
just
I
to
believe.
walk around in them.
At your job, I think you could.
Yeah, I probably could. So Street Fighter actually did announce something, or Capcom actually announced something after this countdown. That's the worst part. There was like a couple of day countdown that Capcom put up,
like a
and this
week
was like,
long. Yeah,
yeah, and this was going to be announced like at the middle of the night, like 1 o'clock in the morning. So they gave us Street Fighter 6, and everyone's like, okay, that's it. Like, okay, also Ryu has sandals, great, but we don't know anything else.
And he's sweaty. Okay.
But what else they announced, I actually am excited for. It's the Capcom Fighting Collection. It's
Yeah,
coming to
same.
Yeah,
No, that looked super good. I was like, yo, here we go. This is awesome.
Bro, Red Earth and Cyberbots are so made up.
Yes.
That's so sick. I love when developers bring back old stuff like this that like we never got or like is like out of left field. It's so cool.
Yeah,
I love the Gundam fighting game. That's kind of the vibes I got from it, but it looks so much faster than the Gundam fighting game.
Well, Red Earth is kind of an RPG fighting game. That's the whole point of it as well. You
That's what
actually
I hear,
level up
yeah.
and build up. I've played it on emulators years ago. I found out it was actually released on home consoles, but only in like Europe and Japan. We never got it here in the US.
Interesting.
So there's a physical standard version. So we don't know if there's other ones coming there. I guess there's a digital special edition. That might be why it's called that. 10 games are going to be included. All include rollback netcode. Joey, would you like to give us the list of games there?
Yeah. You got Leisure Suit Larry 2. Funny enough, Bubsy 3D. That's kind of weird.
I mean, there's a lot of beating going on, but not the kind you're thinking of.
Lunar Dragon Song. No, okay. No, we got Darkstalkers, the Night Warriors, Darkstalkers Revenge, which is different. Vampire Savior, Vampire Hunter 2, Darkstalkers Revenge, Vampire Savior 2, Red Earth, Cyberbots, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. Hell yeah.
Yes.
Hyper Street Fighter 2. How many times we've gotten this? That one's made up. We've never gotten this on a home console.
I thought we had.
Are you thinking of the Switch one?
Well, I know they have the collections on Switch. I think this came out in like 360.
You know what? It might. Yeah, you know what? It might have come out in 360 like a while ago, but I think
So
it's
maybe it
like
is newer. Okay.
at first I thought it was the one that came out for Switch. I can't remember what that one was
It's
with Dark Ryu and Ken and stuff.
yeah, it's
Evil
like
Ken.
Final Street Fighter 2 or whatever the hell.
Oh, I'm
Because it
sorry.
was Violent Ken and Dark Ryu.
There you go. Yeah, it was PS2 and Xbox that this came out
Okay.
on. Okay, which is no one plays this one. Even on Fightcade, no one plays this one. But I
God, I
think
wonder if
it's
I have
cool
it on
that
the
it's
fighting. Anyways, go ahead.
and then Super Gem Fighter Mini
Minimix.
Mix. Yeah, hell yeah, that looks sick. All these games are interesting. They're very. I mean, because I'd never really played Darkstalkers,
Oh, they're
apart
so much
from
fun.
the second Vampire Savior, I think.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm stoked to actually get this all in a collection. It's going to be a lot of fun, and the fact that they announced good netcode or ostensibly good netcode is really cool.
Well, the funny thing is, like, people are talking about, like, oh, a lot of these you can emulate. But on the official website, it goes so far as to list the US and Japanese ROM versions for each one. So if you wanted
Oh,
to
that's
emulate
sick.
exactly which one they're going to have, they tell you which one to get. But I'm going to buy this guaranteed when it comes out. Like, I'm so hyped to get it.
Same.
I
Um,
Yeah, even like maybe somebody who's not super into fighting games. Like, I mean, I love fighting games. I'm not good at them per se, but I'll still buy it because I'm like, yo, 10 old games that I don't have. That's pretty good, you know.
well, all right. So this is the entire mainline Darkstalker series, and that is one of my favorite fighting games from Capcom outside of actually Street Fighter. Like they've always been great. There's a reason a lot of those characters stuck around for like the Marvel versus Capcom and a lot of the other ones where those characters come from. Plus, you get to be a really cool looking Frankenstein's monster and just beating up everybody with it, or a mummy that wraps people up. Red Earth, like I said before, is like an RPG fighter. So as you're playing through, you can actually level up and do other stuff, and it's really intriguing how that works. Cyberbots, I have not played in years, so I don't remember how that is. And then Puzzle Fighter 2 and Super Gem Fighter are just fun puzzle games. Like they're
So
just great
good.
to
They're
play.
so fun.
Their animation is just top notch with the deformities and the hilarity of the backgrounds. Like there's so many jokes all over those games. But we actually know when those are coming out. They're coming out on PS4, Switch, Xbox One, and Steam on June 24th. As I said before,
Nice.
I think they're about. I think it's only like $50,
It's not
which
bad.
is no, it's not bad at all. So I'll be picking it up. I'm actually probably going to get it on Switch, ironically enough, because I got the Street Fighter collection on there, and I really like how it plays. Like it's great to have it as a portable. And I've gone to people like we just hanging out. I'll just put it on the tabletop, hand out controllers, and we'll start playing fighting games.
Dude, I don't even think I could do quarter circles on that Joy-Con. I think I'd struggle with it.
Yeah, if it's an actual like I'm gonna play somebody real, I will bring pro controllers with me at least. So, all right. So this next story was kind of an interesting one. I don't know if you guys saw any of this.
I did see that. I think I posted it on the in the Discord, right?
I think you might have. That might have been where I found it too. Possible $1 million and up collection of sealed 1990s game discovered. Like just holy crap. Like factory sealed collection from a game store that shut down in the mid 1990s. You think about what was around, I think 1994. So it'd been my freshman year of high school when this happened.
It had to have been later because Chrono Trigger is in there. And that came out in 95.
Okay. So yeah,
Because we John and I were analyzing this.
that's good to know. I'm glad you had that insight.
But dude, the ASMR of this is unreal. Like I felt it like deeply. It was an awakening. You know?
I haven't got a chance to watch it with sound yet. I had to kind of just watch it
Oh,
sporadically
the
while I was doing
sound
other
sucks.
stuff.
It's more like the seeing everything and like
Oh, okay.
the feeling and you could feel the texture. Unfortunately, you can't get that smell ever again because it'd be silly to spend $5,000 on a SNES game just to smell it and
Just
open
to
get that
open
new
it.
smell.
Yeah.
This
But
this new game smell. I missed it so.
But yeah,
It's
just
so
a
good.
couple of the games that I noticed as I went through really fast. Sealed copies of Mortal Kombat 2, Ultima, Uncharted Waters, SimCity, Chrono Trigger, like multiple copies of Chrono Trigger. That's some money right there for that guy. Final
I sold a
Fantasy.
sealed copy of Chrono Trigger, and let me just tell you, that was a mistake because I should have just waited a couple years. I can only imagine what a sealed copy in that condition. Probably you're looking at like $30,000-$40,000 easy.
Oh, everybody trying to go for a sealed Super Nintendo collection is just like rock hard right now.
That's yeah.
Just like, oh,
yes,
Super
finally.
Nintendo or Genesis, like a lot of those. They had Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Do any of you like that series as well?
Oh yeah, I love
I
that.
freaking love that game. But yeah, there's no reasonable clue how much this is going to be worth. The guy does not want to be named. Like, I
wouldn't
completely
either.
get that.
People would hunt me down probably.
Somebody in the YouTube comments on that video tracked it down. Like they
Oh
basically
no.
got the store, like they knew what store it was, and like that's the internet, man.
Well, for the store is one thing. He was working through a middleman to go through that store, and I think they wanted him to know where the store was. But the guy's house, like where the stuff was, they didn't want getting out, or the guy didn't want his identity known. Which, I mean, I don't even think he realized it. From what I read, like the guy had no idea how much he was sitting on. Can you imagine just finding out you're sitting on potentially millions of dollars worth of stuff?
I don't know about millions, but you're looking at like at least a couple 100,000.
Yeah.
You know? He's got there's like 5 sealed Phantasy Star 3s. Like it, I think more important than anything is that these are like in pristine condition. They're not just factory sealed. They're like perfect. Like, oh man.
Given the amount of stuff they showed, like shelves of it full of like these storage boxes, they had them lined up across the room going all this distance. I actually would not be surprised if you broke $1 million with the sales of it if they do it correctly.
Yeah, like as a lot or something, I can see that. I can see it dropping for $1 million or something. Some crazy person.
Yeah. Maybe they might buy like one of each or something, but he'd probably make more if they actually part it out and sell it just for some of those rare ones to kind of compensate. But it's nuts. All right. So next up, Steam is changing some of the rules of their discounts. Like I always hear all the PC Master Race people talking about like, oh, I'll just wait for a Steam sale. Well, now there are rules.
Ooh.
You got to follow the rules if you want that Steam gaming. So list of changes. I guess this is to kind of stop people from screwing over the players during these sales. You can run a launch discount, but once that ends, you cannot discount it again for 28 days. Because I've seen some games where as soon as they come out, they'll put it on sale and then it ties into something else. You can't discount a game for 28 days after any price increase in any currency. So if you raise the cost of a game in another country because of a currency change, you cannot raise that price or change it anywhere else in the world, which is kind of nuts. You can't run another discount within 28 days of finishing a prior discount other than for Steam-wide seasonal events. Discounts for seasonal sale events cannot be run within 28 days of title's release, within 28 days after a launch discount ends, or within 28 days of a price increase in any currency. So basically just trying to stop people from waiting so much for sales every time. You can't change the price while a promotion is live or scheduled in the future. The reason they did that is there was people that would, right before a Steam sale or something, would jack up the price of a game and then apply the discount so they can be like, hey, it's 90% off or, whatever, but you're actually paying like 50% off or, even less sometimes. You can't discount by more than 90% or less than 10%. So no more of those 5% off or 95% off. Kind of control the runaway market for that, for those people making like really cheap games and then be like, hey, they're 99% off. It's only $1 or, 10 cents or something. And then custom discounts cannot last longer than 2 weeks or shorter than 1 day. So you can't just keep it continuously, and perpetuity on sale. So, anyone else actually care about Steam?
No, I mean I use Steam, but I just think it's interesting they're putting these kind of discount rules in place. I'm wondering, because I know there's like launch discounts. They do that. I'm like, that's pretty nice. I like that. If I want to buy something. So I don't think I've ever ran into a problem where I've seen a game actually like raise the price as soon as the sale hits, like you said, so that I've never actually seen that before. Um, but I'm wondering if this will like stop people from doing that specifically. So I
Yeah,
guess
I
it'll
think
be
a little
interesting
bit,
to
but
see.
it's also to like maximize credit card transactions
Yeah.
because like
Yeah,
things usually cheaper than $5. A lot of times companies really try to avoid that, right? So
that's
it's
very
like by
true.
making games not be that cheap or be that cheap right off the bat, so they know how to market them. It maximizes the amount of money that Steam as a platform is making because they pay the developers basically to host their games, and then depending on whatever license or contract, that pays out accordingly. So some of it's good, some of it's just kind of like, okay, Steam, all right,
We
same
get
old.
it.
Mhm.
You want money? That's fine.
I get it. Yeah,
Just
I,
count
I,
to
I
three, please.
I've had a Steam account since like the first month it launched because it came with Halo with Half-Life 2, and so I think my account is like 18 or 19 years old or something wild like that,
Right.
and I think across like the 5 accounts I have, I think I might have like 120 games, maybe, and a lot of those games are like dollar or $2 games, part of a bundle.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
A
same
lot of
same with
humble
me.
bundles.
It's like I'll
Humble.
never play these, but I have them.
Yeah, so it's like I've never really bought too far into the Steam thing, especially because you can get a lot of the games for free other way. But anyway, it's I do think it's like a decent enough platform to where if you want something, eventually it will go on sale, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one of its biggest selling points. So hopefully that retains its momentum and doesn't really change, which I don't think it would.
Yeah, it's always been that view for me. Like I'll get a game on Steam. I don't play PC games that much, but because it's digital only, I don't like paying full price for it. I don't feel it's really gonna fit for that for me. So I'll wait till it goes on sale or something drops or changes, and I'll get that, to kind of go from there. But but yeah, there's new rules, so look into those. And our last bit of news, this is kind of a quick one. I don't have a visual to show, but you guys can see the image I put up here. The PlayStation VR 2 final design image has been released. So they're kind of going for an all circular design, like more rounded for everything. Um, the headset itself has got the 4 front facing cameras so that it can track the ring around the controllers, very much like an Oculus Quest or Quest 2 for how that's laid out. Um, and then it's going to have like the rumble feature built into the headset. And they show on the left hand side of the headset one cable that'll be coming down that connects to your PlayStation 5, probably through the USB-C or USB port on the front of it there. So it's not going to be full wireless, which I didn't expect it to be, but I'm glad it's at least one cable that's hopefully long enough not to be restrictive. Still no word on if this is going to be compatible whatsoever with the existing PlayStation VR games. Like I really hope so, because I actually did invest in playing those, and I hate having to break that headset out every time to play them.
Oh, dude, and the octopus that you have to connect to get that shit to
Oh,
work, like,
yeah.
or that
And then
poo
yeah,
to
no.
work.
So, do you guys have any thoughts on the look of the headset? I mean, I know it's a VR
uh,
headset, so
it looks like a PlayStation headset. All right, it's
Hmm.
white.
white and
So
black.
yeah, white and black like the PS5. Plug it in, do the stuff. I mean, I would hope that it's backwards compatible. Like it's VR, should still
It should
work.
be, yeah. It
Not
should
like
be.
not like it's like a different graphics engine running the whole thing or something. I
But it
would
is a
think.
different control style, though.
True, yeah. That is
So
true.
they'd have to make maybe the Move controllers compatible, or which I guess they are compatible because you can hook up a PlayStation VR now with
Yeah.
the adapter and use it. So I'd be fine with that. If I had to use those controllers to at least play it, I don't know. That requires the camera too, though. So we'll see. Maybe some of them will get ports or some kind of update.
Guess we'll find out.
God knows how much this is going to cost. They've been drip feeding information about this since since the PS5 was first announced. Like, we're going to have VR, but we'll tell you nothing about it forever. And then they make you wait, and like, our big announcement, it's PlayStation VR 2. What? Like,
Okay.
all right. That's not really good on the marketing team, but whatever. Yeah.
It's all part of their plan.
All right. So that's it for the news. So we'll go into our roundtable. I just had a quick discussion I wanted to have with you guys, specifically in regards to like the Nintendo eShop and preservation of gaming. With the discussion of the eShop and other online digital stores closing or attempting to, like the place, Sony announcing the PS3 and PSP and Vita stores, they held off on a couple of them, but the PSP is still closing down sometime this year. What do you think are the proper steps for preservation? And a second question for that is, what does preservation mean to you? Which one of y'all want to go first? Okay, Caleb.
Oh, okay. I'll go first.
Well,
sure.
hey, no one spoke up, so
Well,
I'm assigning.
Caleb was frozen on my screen too. He looked like he was going to say something. So.
Oh, okay. I had to pull the dad there. Like, nope. All right, one of y'all's going to talk. I'm just going to pick one.
I mean, so steps for preservation. Obviously, a lot of people are saying piracy is one step because a lot of these old consoles are $500 sometimes, or like a new Nintendo 64 is like $250 for an old console. Then you might have to pay whatever kind of, but however much money. But like I like the idea of preserving games. I would like to personally keep my old games around for my children or my children's children to be able to enjoy and play. And I when companies like Nintendo's recent thing of, oh, we're taking all these old games away and you can have the lesser the games we decide you have, it's like, yeah, but what if I want to play the other one? Nope. It like, again, we discussed it earlier, it kind of sucks. And um like I do wish I could have a collection like Jeremy, but unfortunately I don't have the resources to gather all that, especially because I live in an apartment, so you know how that is. I don't have
Right.
enough room. But I do think it's important. It's much like books. I think books are, there's a lot of copies. I don't know if you could. Yeah, it's good. It's good to have some sort of library type thing, and I don't know. Maybe that's what I kind of hope for, or I kind of wish Nintendo would do. I just wish that we could literally everything just be either backwards compatible, or just be like, hey, we're selling this, and that's fine and all. But if you already own, like, I own GameCube titles, but the only way I can play any GameCube stuff is either if I had a GameCube or on the Wii. Not so much the Wii U. Don't know why, but it's not on the Wii U, but everything else was.
Right.
And how much harder is it going to be, if my GameCube breaks, or if the Wii finally catches fire one day because it was only built to last 20 years or something like that. Like, what do I do now? I can't take it to a shop, so I don't know. I'm not personally, I don't know what to do other than maybe just be able to, I don't know if you can resell old systems, or they're not going to make old systems. So I don't know what you would do, but so,
Well,
I know that was
you're fine. You're fine.
That was a lot of rambling and everything.
What were you going to say, Joey?
You do have stuff like the EverDrive that are like reconstructed consoles that you can just,
Well, see, I don't know. I've never done much research into it because,
but not GameCube though. Not GameCube. You have to still buy the GameCube or the Wii. So And the only way your Wii is catching fire is if you listen to my SoundCloud on it. So
does it even have the capability of going to that anymore? Does the browser
no,
still
probably
work?
not. No, not with that flash. No.
All right.
But yeah.
So Joey, what are your thoughts on this in regards to, preservation, or what do you think what do you think are the proper steps for preservation, and what does preservation mean in your mind?
Well, I guess, there's the realistic answer to that question, and then there's the ideal one, right?
Right.
And the ideal one is obviously put as much shit as you can. I keep doing it. I'm
You're
sorry.
fine. Saying
Put as
shit
much
is
stuff
fine.
as you can on the on a storefront or something, whatever. But I get it. It's not always that easy because licensing and rights and blah blah
Mhm.
blah. Um, so I guess what it means to me is just being able to play games and have them readily available without having to jump through 400 hoops. And I don't mean all games. I think it's very unrealistic to assume that.
Right.
Um, so I mean, like, and at the same time, in reality, that wouldn't be as big of a deal if companies just focused on it. But I think ideally, what you would see, or realistically, what you would see rather, is that. Are you familiar with the Criterion Collection?
I am.
So think of it something like this. So the Criterion Collection, for those who might not know, it takes a lot of like world cinema and like films that are deemed historically important
Mhm.
or like artistic or whatever, and it restores them to the highest quality that they can get with digital transfers and a bunch of supplemental features and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Um, so it's a curated list ultimately, which is essentially what we have now on like something like Nintendo's storefront with the
Mhm.
Nintendo Online, but it's way more limited, right?
Right.
So the difference here is that film degrades at like a film from the 40s or 50s. A lot of times, it's a lot of work to transfer
Mhm.
something like that. Um, More work than porting over games. Most of the time.
Right.
Some games are totally different. When you have to reconstruct a game, it's a different story. I get it. It's a contextual thing, but for the most part, it can be done, right? And it just, I just don't see any companies just actually biting the bullet and wanting to do this though. And so there's that argument that people who really want to play games in their original form will find a way. Sure. I think in a way, emulation is always going to be better than whatever a company or whatever produces. Like, this is a really good example, and I just talked
Mhm.
about it 20 minutes before the show. My girlfriend has never played Earthbound or Mother One / Earthbound Beginnings, right? And it just came
Right.
out on the Switch. So I was like, "Do you want to play that on the little emulator device we have, or do you want to play it on the Switch?" And it's like, well, if you play it on the Switch, it's like a nice screen, it's a comfortable thing, whatever. It's in your Switch. But if you play it on the emulator device, you have quicker save states, fast forward features, rewind features, all the good stuff that comes with the emulator, right?
Right.
But I mean, that experience is comparable. And to me and to a lot of enthusiasts, if a company goes out of their way to put something like that out, I would play it. Like
Mhm.
Nintendo releases this, I think I would play it on the platform just because they did it. So why not, right? Unless
Right.
it's like a very specific example. Um, but like I mean, every time Mother One or Mother Two comes out on a digital platform, I buy it. It's just the thing, the cycle. I own 2 copies, but I still buy it. Like it's there. I want to play it. It's a good game to play that on. So it's I think that whole concept of like the sort of like I don't know excuse making of, oh, if people want to emulate, or if people are going to play it, they're going to play it. It's not worth the effort to do that. I don't think so, man. I think if you look at this generation and you look at kids now who are getting into games and we're getting, especially RPGs, um, they're really willing to play old stuff, like
Oh
more
yeah.
so than maybe even our generation was. Like, And I think that speaks volumes about the fact that there is so much room to be made on this front. So what would I like to see? Some
Mhm.
kind of paid service that allows a very, very eclectic array of stuff rather than what we have now across all platforms. I think, like you said, Jeremy, the closest thing to it is Microsoft and their BC with 360 and Xbox, the
Mhm.
first Xbox games. Um, so something like that is a good step in the right direction, but it's also not quite there yet. Uh, I I just don't. I can't give companies, $1 billion companies, the benefit of the doubt like this and assume that they're
Yeah.
going to do the right thing by us. So
Okay.
um, yeah, I don't know. And in the context of we talked about this a lot, but Square Enix has been really on top of trying to bring older games. Like you get the Chrono Cross remaster, you got Live Alive, stuff like that. Um, is that, like, in the case of like Live Alive, is that preservation? And my answer to that is no, because it's not the original game, right?
Right.
Like, it's maybe it's 1-to-1. It's going to be 1-to-1, whatever, but it's not the original game.
I was
And so,
actually going to touch on part of that with my explanation too.
Yeah.
right. So
Gen-
you like where like and I think companies are constantly. This is the last thing I'll say. I'm sorry,
No,
but
you're
no,
fine.
you're fine.
they're trying to do this thing where it's like, oh, we want to be up for preservation and blah blah blah. But we also really want to maximize our profit, so we're not going to give you full preservation. We're going to give you this new thing that we made instead of doing the old thing. And in a
Right.
way, that's cool. But why not give us the old thing with the new thing? Like, I'll pay. People will gladly pay more money for it. Like, the
Yeah.
market is long tail enough where that could be profitable on a big level. So,
Well,
I
uh,
mean,
why couldn't they have treated it like Secret of Mana? You had a full remake, but you also re-released the original actual game to be played. They were both available, and you could choose which way you wanted to
right.
go.
The only thing about that though is that it was two different platforms, so they weren't on the same, which is kind of whack, right? Like you have the remake that was PS4 and PC, and then you had Collection of Mana, which was just Switch exclusive for some reason. So
I thought that was in other systems as well.
not Collection, sadly.
Oh, okay.
Trials of Mana was the remake. That one was
Oh,
across
okay.
all.
That's why I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
But
that is
yes,
weird.
like again, I think actually that's a really good example because
Mhm.
that's a matter of being like, okay, well, we want to make this accessible, and it's like, yeah, you're kind of doing it, but why are you making these exclusive? Like, what is the, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
I'm
go ahead.
trying to remember because literally when you said the Live Alive stuff and the PlayStation games, I was like, what was that one game that just came, like it came out and I bought it. It's they brought it back and it's the one with the multiple characters. Uh, is it Frontier?
Saga Frontier.
Saga Frontier. I knew it was something like that. Frontier Saga is completely different. Don't look at. All right, Saga Frontier. I played that game when my father borrowed a PS1 from one of his friends. We were taking care of it. And he also had Digimon World. I don't know. I rented Digimon World or whatever. It was a good time. Then there was this one game, Saga Frontier, and I was like, okay, this looks interesting. I'm gonna play as the green hedgehog dude because green is my favorite color. So I will play
Riki
as
rules, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I started playing as him. Of course, I was a dumb kid. I couldn't even get past like the second level. I got to the town. I was like, I don't know where to go, what to do. I'm just
Yeah,
level
that
one.
game's bad about that.
It was,
Yeah.
it was. I'm like, oh no, man. I'm gonna just stay here and fight these two other pink hedgehogs with, it looks cool enough, so I'll do that the whole time. Anyways, when and I kept trying to look for this game because I always forgot the name of it every time.
Mhm.
I still forget the name. I'm like,
Right.
what is the name of it? I want to play it. I want to continue it. When I saw Saga Frontier pop up on that Switch trailer, my mind exploded. And I'm like, holy crap. And maybe that's like another way of preserving games because I'm like, yes, I can finally go back and play it because it's pretty much impossible to find. I think like at a reasonable price, anyways. Uh,
Actually, that game's not that expensive, surprisingly.
Right.
Somehow. I don't know how that turned out to be, but
well, I meant like buying a PS1 and
Well,
yeah.
going through all that to buying a
Yeah,
PS1.
yeah.
That's another part of what I was wanting to cover as well. So I'll go ahead and go on to mine. So in regards to the proper steps for preservation, I think it has to be done in stages, and that's part of why we've run into problems over the years that haven't been done. You've got preservation on an actual company basis, which a lot of them for decades did not do. This is why we had problems, specifically Square Enix as one of the ones
Losing
I
their
always know.
source code.
Exactly. They're not
Yeah.
preserving the actual code itself. So when they come back and want to re-release or do something with it, they're having to recreate it because it's just gone. They don't have that. People don't understand. You can't just, oh, well, I've got the PlayStation disc here. Yeah, but you can't put that in and get the actual stuff. That's all the work was done, and they processed it down to that. And you can't just unprocess it. So companies need to take more active preservation roles for their own stuff, keeping that artwork, keeping that music, and archiving it. And if they can't, if a company closes or something, there are groups that are starting to come up, nonprofits that are trying to help preserve that content as well. That some companies or developers, even back from like the Atari days and coming forward, will be like, hey, I still have this stuff in my garage, and they're donating it to try and keep that going. So companies need to do that. Now, from the standards of people like game players, honestly, preservation comes down to a means of maintaining it and keeping it available and sharing that. Like I have my collection. You mentioned it earlier, Caleb, of my massive collection, and but I try and use that like a library for people to be able to come over and explore and enjoy it. I try and figure out ways that I can actually. Yeah, you can come over at some point, Caleb.
Well, no, I meant like prime example was I came over for one of the game nights, and I was like, "Yo, Jeremy, do you have Keystone or what was it? Power Stone? Thank you.
Power
I can't
Stone. Oh
remember.
yeah.
Like, do you have Power Stone? I played that like with one of my mean neighbor's kids that I never went back to, but it was a really fun game, and I want to play that again. Granted, no
Yeah.
one else at the
But
party wanted to play it but me, but it was
right.
a fun
So,
so
but the players themselves, like you have to. We need to get into the habit of not hoarding these collections.
Yes.
Like I have no problem having a collection, but you need to actually share that stuff. I
Mhm.
get it if it's like some super rare, obscure thing people you don't want messing with, but maybe give people access to get a copy of the ROM off of it, or Jeremy Parrish over, he works over at Limited Runs, but we're also doing a lot of books and stuff. He would get together collections of things and photograph them and preserve it in that means so that stuff can be kind of shared. And I've even got, I'm just gonna knock some stuff over here. I've got some of his books here, like the Super NES works, which I'm showing. This is an entire book just covering what was released on the Super Nintendo in 1991. And every box cartridge is talked about, photographed, and everything. I got another one for Virtual Boy that he did.
That's like 4 pages long.
It's actually about the same size. It's kind of crazy.
Oh wow.
And it actually comes with a pair of 3D glasses. There's 3D pictures in there. It's great.
Dang.
Anyways, so preservation doesn't have to just be I have the game, it's access to it.
Yes.
And I grew up with that whole belief of you should have the actual game. Emulation's bad. You're stealing from people. And then I grew up. That is well, no, I mean, that is the worst ideal to have. But buying a game, if it's available, I get, but emulation and piracy will be the only means we actually get to preserve every game that needs to be preserved. And people joke like they always want to pull out, oh, well, this dumb game doesn't need to be preserved as an argument against it. Okay, I looked at one, when I modded the Wii U, there was a game I hadn't even played yet that I found the eShop file for and put on there called Meme Run.
Oh yeah, Meme Run.
Okay, it is a stupid game.
It is stupid.
But here's the thing. Even me looking at it now, this came out years ago. Imagine someone looking at this 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now.
It'd be like, look at that
That is,
cool spot.
well, I
You
mean,
know,
it's,
it's like the
that's
same
a,
concept.
what's a social, it's a view at what society was like at that time.
Exactly.
Memes are a way that people will convey things. So from a socio-political view, they can look at it and kind of see how this was from this, socioeconomic, all of that. Even that stupid of a game has potential.
Yep.
We joked about Barbie earlier, but if you go back and look at those games, that is even stuff for Barbie of how women were viewed at the time, the way people dress, the way there's always a history to something. Just
I brought
because
up Barbie because I played it on my device. I was
right.
playing the Barbie Game Boy Color game as I was curious.
Well, I
So
mean, I went and watched the Toys That Made Us where they talked about Barbie and the whole history of it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't do anything with Barbie, but like the history of that just being looked at from how the world is as you go along the generations, it's actually intriguing story. So there's a means of preservation or reason for preservation for so many things beyond what an individual thinks about. You may not find it important, but somebody else will. Those Criterion movies, not everyone's going to agree every one of those is a masterpiece.
right.
And people are going to think other ones are there, but the ones that are available are available. And to your point about RPGs, why I think they've become more important is I think as gamers, we have actually moved past a requirement of graphics. It's not like it has to be flashy or I'm going to play it. Kids, especially like my son, he plays games of all kinds of graphical fidelity because that's just what is made now. It's not just this one type. So going back and playing Earthbound now is really no different than someone playing a new iPhone game that might come out.
Exactly.
All they care about is the story. They might go back and read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and it may be a brand new print on a paperback. Doesn't mean they have to go back and find an original leather-bound first edition or whatever. They're still enjoying it. It's still a book. It's still what they're getting, and it's still accessible.
You know what I think of? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think that what you just touched on is perfect. I think books are a really, really good example of this because, like, yeah, you have the different editions, right?
Yeah.
And then you have like obviously the original edition, which may actually like just physically be printed differently, but also there might be revisions and typo edits and stuff like that, and that kind of stuff is fine, like because that just sort of something that happens, bug fixes, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But like, that's sort of like what needs to happen. We need to look at stuff like that, like printing, like doing reprints, and even books struggle with this too. But it's usually because of licensing things, right? Like where someone can't get a reprint of a book because there is a mention or there was some dispute creatively with the author. The stuff like that can kind of quagmire the release and reprint cycle for sure. But yeah, I mean, what you said too about just accessibility is so on point because it's not just about owning this game. And I think that like collectors, and one of the reasons why the secondary market is so inflated is because collectors are just that. They just hoard and whatever. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily bad, but it's just that when everybody is doing that, it spikes the market. Like if more people were sharing their collection and more people were interacting with it. And I get that it's hard because it's expensive. You don't want people to handle your shit. You don't want to, blah, blah, blah. And
we got to get over that.
Right. Yeah. Right. But the problem is that like, yeah, I mean, it's more, and I'm not saying share your stuff. I'm saying that the mindset that we have about interacting with the things that we own, that great George Carlin bit about this too much stuff, right? I think it's true.
Right.
And I think one of the reasons why you see the secondary market so inflated, especially now, is because people are collecting to hoard rather than collecting to interact as a whole. There's a lot of exceptions, but
yeah,
that's what happens. That's I'm done.
Oh, you're fine. And kind of against that, I would actually say that people should have to share their stuff. And that doesn't mean like you have to come over and play your game. You can have your collection, take photographs, talk about it, do
Mm-hmm.
something to share that out, because all of that is a form of preservation one way or another. There
Yes.
are games that were released back on the Atari and on PC that the only reason we know they exist is because someone may have taken an errant picture of it, or groups were talking about it, or someone wrote about it. We don't even have the game to see, but from those documents, we can at least say, hey, this existed and this is what we have about it. And that's intriguing that we can talk about a game that no one alive has seen because of that. Like, it's great.
That's funny you mentioned that. That's what I've been trying to do with Super RPG Friends Twitter stuff.
Yeah.
Taking a photo of something or something weird that I might have or that somebody else, we did this with Crusader of Senti, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're like a huge RPG guy, you probably don't know what that game. And this is not like a hipster, like, yeah, you probably don't know what that is. You absolute knobhead. Like it's not like that. It's just more like, yeah, I mean, it's a niche thing, right? And I think trying, when I was doing this kind of thing, I did it not to get engagement into, like be like, oh, look at this post, like, comment, subscribe, share, retweet. It's more like,
Right.
oh, it's cool to see people be like, oh, bro, that's Crusader of Senti, man. I remember that game. It was so sick. You got a guy, he's got a hat. It's sick. But like in the game, there's like a Sonic the Hedgehog cameo that's goofy, and the music rules, and like it's almost like unexpected, that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. Seeing it, the game that nobody has heard of has these amazing sort of redeeming qualities about it, and I think that too is a form of preservation, like sharing a track from the game, being like, oh, check out this cameo of Sonic. It encourages exploration, and I
Yeah.
think people are likely to do that, especially if you're into this as a hobby.
Agreed. The other part I think for the actual makers of the games that should be required is two things. One is, I understand that the market has gone between physical and digital. There needs to be a better means of preserving digital titles, because as the eShop and the WiiWare and other games being taken down from different stores, and Sony looking at closing some of their stuff, there's no tangibility to it. They're just going to go away. And that's what comes into people having to pirate and hack and steal things, because that's the only reason the WiiWare games are even available right now. I got to finally play like the Castlevania Adventures, the remake they did on
Oh yeah,
there.
that one rules. Yeah.
It's absolutely great. I only got to play it because I managed to get a hold of it and put it on a modded Wii. Otherwise, I would have been like, that's great, and I don't get to ever see it or play it.
Mhm.
And people, born just a few years ago, may becoming old enough to be able to play that. They never even had a chance unless somebody did that. So companies, I think they should be required, like I said, to kind of hand over stuff if they're closing down or going away, a means to preserve it through some of these other
Yeah.
groups, but also that look at, um, I think I'll bring up an example, Lego City Undercover. Do you guys ever play that one at all?
Mm-mm.
I know of it.
It's great. It's basically Lego, but Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
But you play it's absolutely hilarious. Great references.
Didn't they port it to Switch?
Kinda.
Kind of. Okay.
That's part of the reason for this. If you buy it, the Wii U original release, it has all of the original Nintendo content as part of it. The Switch version did come out, but say whatever amount of time the Switch servers go off and you can't get the updates anymore, you play a version of Lego City that has all of that scrubbed out. It's put in with generic other things that aren't there. You only
Yeah.
get the Nintendo content via an update you have to get. I think a lot of these games where they do like Smash Brothers, they've completed the DLC for Smash Brothers. They should release a disc that has all of it on there, or a cartridge or
Agreed.
whatever.
I think they will. I think
They
it's coming.
they've never really done that. They didn't do it for Smash 4 on Wii U.
Yeah,
I had
true.
to download and find the patch for that to get it, to preserve that. I've run into a recent one of one of the Spyro collections. Apparently, they didn't announce it, but there was, if you find a copy of the disc that has a copyright of 2019, that actually has all of it on the disc.
Hmm.
There's no, it still says download required, but it's actually all there, and people are trying to find it to preserve that, because that way that game will be available for people to get and do something with. So I don't know. We're kind of moving away from the requirement of hardware having to be around. It's almost anti-collector. It's weird for me saying that because I am a collector, but like I have a Dreamcast that I removed the disk drive for. It has an SD card. The GameCube, you can do a modification for that. And then even going beyond getting rid of the need for the media using the hardware, you've got things like the Mister Project or FPGA systems where they're removing the need for the hardware whatsoever. They're finding ways to actually emulate the hardware as it was so that it can run the game files as they were in the most accurate possible way on modern devices that will be able to scale and change over time. And I feel that is the truest form of preservation, because that project can move on ad infinitum, infinity. So it could be hundreds of years in the future and you would still be able to do something with that. You know, like the disc will be long rotted, the hardware will be long dead, but those ideas can keep going.
Right. And that's why I struggle with collecting PS4 and Xbox Series and even Switch games to some extent, cuz like all this stuff, like, yeah, you can replace the what is it, the MOS battery? Is that
Moss,
what
yeah,
it's
the CMOS.
CMOS, yeah. You can replace that in the future, sure, but like the concept of all these physical games, like it just they won't mean as much as a cart would, and for the exact reasons that you said. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to move on. I think at some point you have to move on from the idea of collection as it exists in like original form, and more into the vein of like what you're saying, like repros and all that kind of stuff. And if companies aren't giving people alternatives, then people are going to make alternatives because people are crafty and they like doing that. Like, think about how many games are translated, and think about how many of those games were fan translated that are terrible, and because people wanted them out there. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Look at anime fan dubs
people are
over the
always going to
years.
be willing to do that. And I think so many companies are just not understanding that even that has marketing potential. There's money to be made there. And I think once that clicks, maybe something else will click. But
Say, can I say honestly, I was shocked when they announced like the first Mother game, but not Mother 3. And I'm like, still, I thought it was coming. I thought people are gonna lose their ever loving minds. I'm like,
yeah,
they're like, nope, just 1 and 2. I was like, well,
That's
yes.
that's a very weird example. Like there's so many ways that they could do that. They know there's a market to have that out there, but people are having to emulate it and play those translations. Like I want to play Mother 3, but I keep like, well, maybe I'll wait. And I'm kind of like, maybe I should just give up on waiting for that and just play
just
it.
give up
Just
on waiting and
enjoy it.
play it.
Yeah. I mean,
Should you
I'm not
feel
saying that
like it?
badly. I
Reggie
want
will
to.
never give us 3.
It's interesting to me. Well, Reggie's not even part of Nintendo. The other thing for preservation is it's kind of going back to the Live Alive. So I'm glad that's coming over to the US. I agree your hesitation with your ever favorite
Yo, I
art
love
style of
HD2D.
HD2D.
Love it. My favorite style, quite possibly.
It just, you're just like rubbing your nipples going like, oh,
Yeah,
HD.
I love HD2D. It's so sick.
And I get that that's not your favorite thing. I enjoy it, but as an actual preservation bit, I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. But that's a little bit different. Like the Criterion Collection you talked about, they go back and restore those movies, but they restore them as they
Original.
were. They don't go in and change the effects. They don't cut scenes.
Exactly.
And add in music. There's a place for that. You've got stuff like with Star Wars with some of they updated the effects and so forth. He went a little too
Star
far
Trek
with it.
Next Generation's kind of a good example, a good parallel, because they redid all the effects from scratch.
Yeah, they had to first. Yeah.
Right, because they had to, because they lost the original stuff and they couldn't. bring it over.
They had the original stuff, but it was all 4.3, and they were trying to do it for 16.9. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. And so like I feel like that's kind of what remaster, like that's what something like the Chrono Cross remaster or the Legend of Mana remaster
mm-hmm.
are kind of doing, where they're taking that and it's the same game, they're just adding and polishing stuff up with options to keep it as it were originally. And I think
Yeah,
that's awesome. To me, that's more so preservation than like remaking a game in a whole nother style and changing a bunch of stuff about it. Right. Like
right.
that's a completely different animal. Even Saga Frontier Remastered, in a sense, is kind of breaking that ground because it added so much stuff and
Mm-hmm.
changed so much stuff that it fundamentally changes how some of that game plays, and for mostly for better. But
Yeah,
still, it's not the same um, sort of experience if if there are no options to keep it to the OG. You know,
yeah. It's a lot like you were talking about with books. With you may have a reprint with new updated information or something changed, and you can kind of see between those variations what has changed, and that's important. But we should be able to actually see those original versions. My whole thought just went off. But I think we've talked this out pretty well. We kind of understand how we stand on preservation, and it's not just some bullcrap thing. Like I said, I get tired of seeing the arguments. Oh, we don't need to do this for everything. Well, you don't get to decide what actually gets preserved.
No, screw those
That's not
people.
that's not any of our calls. We don't get to decide what the future just needs to see or should be able to see. That's their choice of what they enjoy or what they want to learn about. So, yeah, pirate everything. That's how we preserve stuff.
All right, go
amen,
team.
brother.
Let's sail for the One Piece.
Well,
Yo ho, pirates.
all right. I'll finish off on this one last bit. I've actually had kind of almost a crisis of conscience or thinking about like how I've been collecting over the years, which I enjoy. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But I've kind of thought, well, my original intent before a lot of this came about. Yeah, you just put on the glasses. Nice.
Yeah, he did.
Just because of what you said, that's the reason why. This is underscoring that statement. Thank you.
I collected over the years to preserve that and share it with people, but that's becoming less and less necessary because of stuff like the Mr. program and a lot of those going on. So it made me kind of think of like, what importance or value does my collection actually have? Like, how bad do I actually need it? If I went right now and sold off like all of the older stuff, I would still have access to every bit of that now if I get like a Mister or emulated or things like that with a negligible or even not even noticeable variation on playing it. Like, what is the difference at that point when I can't tell playing it on this device versus playing it on actual hardware, you know? So that's a decision some people are having to kind of think about. Like, do you keep these collections or is it time to move beyond that to this newer form of preservation, a newer form of warfare, I guess. So, all right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap up this show. We've gone a little over an hour and a half here. Sorry about that. It's been a good discussion. I've really enjoyed it. Like, I'd like the back and forth on this. So, Caleb, we'll start with you. Where can we find you on the internet?
Well, you'd find me on Twitter. That's at StrangelyInt. You can also find me on YouTube. Look for Strangely Entertaining, where I'm a little behind on videos. I need to upload some. Shh, don't tell anybody. And I usually typically stream on Tuesdays or Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Time.
Okay. Joey, where can we find you on the internet?
I think I gave my OnlyFans link. I don't understand why you keep asking me to. No, you
can your feet pictures, man. Come on,
bro. Well, you know what? That was also locked. There was this. You have to unlock it. You have to grind 37 pictures before you can get that. It's a character select screen that you don't even get to see the full extent of until later. But to preserve that content, you can find me on YouTube, SoundCloud, all podcast streaming sites, Spotify, unfortunately, which, luckily my stuff was hacked, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. Also on Twitter at twitter.com/podcastjump and Twitch over at Jump and Shoot Gaming, twitch.tv/Jump and Shoot Gaming. And then we also do Super RPG Friends every Thursday night at 8 p.m. EST. And that's over at Monster Vine. So twitch.tv/Monster Vine official. We do bonus streams. I did my FF6 bonus stream on Monster Vine this time and trying to keep it fresh. I think Frank was talking about doing some more front missions, so maybe we'll see that in the future.
Nice. I've been your host, Jeremy Powers. You can find me over on Twitter at Zenspath, Zenspath. You can find the podcast's actual Twitter account if you want to ask us questions or talk to any of us over at Zenspath Pod. So it's Zenspath Pod. You can find me whenever I'm on Twitch over at twitch.tv/Zenspath. I think it's Zenspath. Yeah, just Zenspath. And then you can find, if you're watching this over at YouTube, you found it at youtube.com/ZenspathCom, or you can listen to the audio version if you ever want to download those at zenspath.libsyn.com. You can also find it on iTunes or pretty much anywhere you find your podcasts except for Spotify. I haven't put it on there back yet after all that. So, all right. Well, this has been episode 60 of the Zenspath 4-Button Podcast, and we are out.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye. Thanks again, guys.
No problem. Seriously, just download stuff, kids.